It's relatively simple, one NATO diplomat observed. Trump likes winners, and Ukraine recently has started winning. To keep the mercurial head of the proxy war coalition on board, NATO has tried to make him the biggest winner of all. At the alliance's 2025 summit in The Hague, member states caved to Trump's long-standing demand for a commitment of 5% of GDP on military spending. The lone exception was Spain, which capped its pledge at 2.1%. Madrid's resistance to the militarist surge drew the ire of Trump, who dismissed the Spaniards as a wasted cause and terrible partner in NATO. 1 year after adopting Trump's 5% pledge, Secretary General Mark Rutte used this month's NATO summit in Turkey to convince the US president that the alliance is delivering results. As Trump landed in Ankara aboard a new $400 million Air Force One gifted by Qatar, NATO announced tens of billions of dollars in new weapons purchases. Ahead of the summit, Rutte presented Trump with a gold-lettered chart named the Trump Trillion, which showcased the $1.2 trillion in increased military spending since Trump first demanded it in 2017. NATO, Rutte explained, is a power projection platform for the United States. As Trump takes in NATO's obsequious praise, Russian forces continue to devastate eastern Ukrainian regions and press their slow advance. Meanwhile, a different conflict is escalating inside Ukraine, this time between the population and their government. Protests erupted this week over the firing of a popular defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, who had reportedly stood up to corruption in the ranks. In Lviv, an angry crowd confronted Ukrainian military recruiters who had detained several young men accused of failing to register for duty. In images that went viral across Ukraine, hundreds of protesters surrounded the officer's vehicle and tipped it over. It was one of countless confrontations between ordinary Ukrainians, even in ultra-nationalist strongholds like Lviv, and the so-called press gangs deployed to snatch men off the street and send them to the war. In the face of this growing resistance to forced conscription inside Ukraine, the European Union tightened its rules for arriving refugees by denying protections to Ukrainian men of military age. Forced mobilization, lamented former Zelensky spokesperson Yulia Mendel, quote, has turned the war inward, pitting Ukrainian against Ukrainian, eroding the very society we claim to be defending. A military alliance ultimately serving Washington's power projection, as the NATO chief says, is not concerned with defending Ukrainians. So long as arms makers can